Are you trying to time the real estate market before you make your next purchase? Hey guys, it's 𝐓𝐫𝐲𝐬 here from eXp Realty and Homes by Bank in Hoboken. And today we're going to take a few minutes to talk about timing the market, what that means versus working on your own timeline, and what looking back on history and could really tell us about the decision to try to time the market versus to really just purchase a property on the right timeline for you, your family, especially if it's going to be a place you're going to live and look to hold for 5, 6, 7 years into the future and raise a family, start a family, or just live yourself in that property. So we're going to pull some slides, going to get talking a little bit. We're going to look at 3 reasons and 3 things to consider as you try to time the market versus work on your own timeline personally. Let me pull these guys up here. All right, let's get started. So are we trying to time the market? First thing we really need to look at is we have to look at the amount of time you're trying to hold that property. Now, if you're flipping a property, you're in and out of it, and you're not going to live there, timing may be way more important. The pricing might be way more important. But if you're looking to live in a property for at least 5, 6, upwards hopefully of 7 or 8 years and own that property for a timeline there, that could be potentially a good indicator that it's time to buy a property today, regardless of where the interest rates are, regardless of where the pricing is. As history will show us as we look through some of these next slides, that it makes more sense to own a property for a long amount of time than it is to try to time it, miss the bottom, miss the top. We want rock bottom interest rates, right? And we want rock bottom prices. Right now, we're at rock bottom interest rates, but high prices. If we get lower prices, we make it higher interest rates. How do all those things affect, right? So number one is if you're not looking to hold the property for more than 5, 6 years, probably a better idea to keep renting right now. The cost of buying and selling is too expensive to absorb into a 5 or 6 year time horizon. The appreciation you're hopefully going to get is going to get wiped out. And also, you could have some fluctuations in a 1, 2, 3 year period. If we look at the Case-Shiller Housing Price Index, we'll take a look all the way back to 1900. And this is a well-respected economist who studies the markets, the real U.S. real estate markets. And this is an index of what's happened in the last 100 years, 120 years almost. As you can see, we have a very straight line. It's always been a good time to buy a home. If you're going to hold it 5 or 6 years, it's always appreciated. Until about 2008. And we all know what happened there. The U.S. mortgage crisis, bad lending practices, made a very unhealthy real estate market, bubble, crash, right? But if we take a look at this, 2007, 2008 right here, by 2012, 2013, maybe 14, 15 at max, we're back even again. So if you were planning on holding that property for 7 or 8 years, you would have had no dip. You would have had all the other benefits that we're going to talk about in a second, but you wouldn't have had any dip in value by the time you came to sold that property. Now, if you didn't have that time horizon and looking to sell in 4 or 5 years, look what could have happened, right? And even here, these don't look as dramatic, but small dips where a 2, 3 year hold could have cost you 2, 3, 4, 5%, maybe more in 2008. But if you have that proper time horizon, history will show us that you'll never really wind up holding the bag, in a bad situation with what the value of your house is from what you bought it. So number one thing to consider is how long are you going to hold that property? Number 2 is the power of interest rates. A lot of people are saying the market's run up, the market's frothy, and they're not wrong. It is. The market's definitely very expensive right now. We see 5, 10, 15% appreciation year over year for the last few years. And honestly, since 2012, 13, we've really seen a one-way trajectory up. But interest rates are at rock bottom prices. And a lot of people will tell you live in the payment, not in the price you bought the house for. So let's take a look at a couple examples here, right? Let's just take, for round numbers, a $500,000 home in today's market, buying it for 20% down with a 3% interest rate. Right now, we're probably 3 1/8, 3 1/4, 3%, $299, somewhere in that range. For round numbers, 3%, you're looking at a $1,686, almost $1,700 carrying cost, plus, of course, your taxes and your HOA fees. We're doing another video soon about renting versus owning and the differences, like down to the penny of what that looks like. Today, we'll just be more high level and just talking about the points of what to consider if you're trying to time the market. Example number 2 is, let's take that same purchase price. Let's say, like many economists are predicting, that we see a 2, 3% appreciation in housing this next year. Not many people are calling for an actual decrease or dip in the pricing, but let's just say it's flat for the next year. And we do get interest rates ticking up, which also economists are saying by the middle to end of 2022, we can likely see 3 3/4, 4 1/4, somewhere above or below 4%. The payment on that home would go up about $200, almost $225, with all else being the same. So if you're not getting that dip, and interest rates go up, you have to be very sensitive that now might be a good time to buy, looking at what economists are saying, if it's the right time for you, right? We're going to always come back to, do you need that big house? Are you going to hold it for 5-6 years? Do you need extra space, less space, whatever the real deciding factor is? And here's example 3. Let's say that $500,000 house did drop to 450, right? Let's say a lot of the economists were wrong. The market did get really, really frothy right now. We see the market move back down. But let's say, for example, the interest rates do still go up to 4%, like many people are predicting. That payment would still be more to, at that point, 10% off of today's pricing than it would be if you bought it with a 3% interest rate today. So that interest rate was 3%, and the pricing came down, which was highly unlikely in today's market with all the predictions that we're seeing. You would probably see more of a $1,500 or $1,600 payment. But what you're looking for there is 3 out of 4 scenarios have you paying more money in the future than today. So trying to time the market, there's a lot of things to consider here. It's not always just the price of the actual house. There's other things to consider in that equation. And the third thing we're going to look at is consider your write-offs. Now, I don't have details here. I don't have charts. I don't have examples, because I want you to consult with your accountant. Every state is different. Every accountant operates differently on what you can and what you can't write off. But in a $500,000, even a $1 million purchase or less, you're going to be writing off almost definitely almost all of your taxes and almost all of your interest, depending on what town you're buying in and how high your taxes are. But all of your interest on your mortgage and all the taxes on the property. That can equate to, on a $500,000 property, anywhere from $1,000, $2,000 a month of write-offs, which equates to real $300, $400, $500, $600 a month savings, not including the principal pay down and not including appreciation. So just one extra thing to consider, that there are soft benefits, they call them. It's not hard. You don't see the money going up. You don't see the principal being paid down, but you do have a secondary soft benefit financially from owning property now, rather than waiting 2-3 years and missing out on all those opportunities to have those tax write-offs and things that will wind up in your pocket. So before we go, I wanted to run a quick case study. Take a look at buying a home in 2018. So we're going to say early 2018, you purchased a $500,000 home with 20% down, 3.5% interest rates, and you have about $6,000 in taxes and about $400 of a monthly HOA fee. That equation would equal about $2,700 a month in a total monthly cost. Right now we're including everything. Maybe utilities aren't in there. Insurance could be another $100 or so a month, but we're around $2,700 for a total payment. Now, I picked this as a case study for 2 different reasons. One, there were some real trials and tribulations. We had a market dip, and we're going to get to it in a second, and we had COVID come into here, and Hoboken got affected, obviously, as being an urban area. The second reason I did this is personally my wife and my family story. We bought a home in 2018, even though we're in the real estate business and we knew the market was screaming hot. We wanted a very particular house, and we were worried about our timing for us, not for the market. And we knew that we're going to hold the home at least 7-8 years, maybe 10 years, or maybe beyond that, quite frankly. So we weren't as concerned as what we were buying the property for. So these numbers are round numbers. They're not the numbers that we paid for our house, but the ups and downs and the percentages are all exactly what's happened, and just an idea of how, in even a shorter time period and in a turbulent market, things can still be beneficial if you time it for your family rather than timing it for the market itself. So late 2018, to take you through this case study, into early 2019, we had a market cool off. It dropped about 5%. That stunk for us, right? We just bought a house and the market cooled off 5%. We're supposed to be smarter than this. We're supposed to buy at the lows and sell at the highs, right? But not for your primary residence. We knew that home came on the market, and one like that wouldn't come on for another 5 years. We were renting for about a year after we moved out of our 1-bedroom because we wanted to make sure this house was on the market and we bought the right one. So we were willing to pay full price. We were willing to pay at the top of the market, and we were okay that the market cooled off. The market cooled off for a natural cycle. We had 7-8 years of upward swinging markets, and we had buyers who were just tired. The prices were getting too high. They were tired of getting outbid on things. So we had the market cool off, right? And that's part of buying homes. Markets go up and down. Keep the long time horizon up. Early 2020, market picks back up, right? Coming out of 19, back into 20, prices kind of leveled off a little bit, 5% down, and buyers entered the marketplace again. Interest rates popped down a little bit as well, got buyers really excited, and things were great. We're like, oh, awesome. It was a temporary dip. And then COVID-19 hits. The Hoboken market gets, essentially for all intents and purposes, stalls out for 3 or 4 months. There's some fire sales and some panic selling that goes even down 10, 15% below that. It's not a great place to be a homeowner. You're scared. You're a little worried what's going on. And this isn't just like a market correction, right? This is like a worldwide pandemic that really is shifting the way people work, where they live, where they think about their way they think of their housing. So, now we're down 10, 15% off of our purchase from just a year or 2 years earlier, and we're getting nervous again. But late 2020 until today, market comes roaring back. Honestly, it comes roaring back. We're back up to where we were and beyond that 2018 peak where we bought this home. And we saw the dip erased. We saw the current value, probably a home at $500,000 that was bought in 2018, be more in the $550 range, up about 10% from when they purchased it. I was just running comps for a client this morning. They bought a home for $770 in 2018, the beginning of 2018, right around when we bought our place, and they're probably going to list for about $850. So they're looking very strong, good 10% upswing for that property. So this kind of aligns right with this case study and what we're seeing on the property that we bought. Additionally, one thing we haven't even talked about is that there's 3 years of principal pay down and tax write-offs that were also figured in here. So you had a $50,000 appreciation. Those $40,000 other principal pay down and tax write-offs is going to equal almost $90,000 in financial gain in just a 3-year period. So way shorter, right? If we bring this out 6-7 years, it's going to be even softer and nicer numbers that are going to come into some of those tax write-offs, principal pay downs. And for all intents and purposes, looks like appreciation is going to continue. And inside that 3-year period were 2 market dips. So just an idea, guys, of taking a look at this not as what the market is telling you to do, what the interest rates are, where the prices are. Like, yes, consider them, think about them, act intelligently within them, but then make a decision on what makes sense for you and maybe your family and for your future investment down the road. As long as you have that time horizon, there's other ways to think about it. So guys, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, you want to talk about a specific situation or a specific scenario for yourself, feel free to reach out to us. Have a great day. Talk to you soon.